The first question came from a musician in Alabama. His question was he's never been a fan of personal mixers at all. He's never really heard one that sounded right. So I was asking Brad
Right.
Lyons, what's your response to a question like that?
When it comes to the personal monitoring systems, a lot of them actually have analog to digital converters, and on the other end have to convert it from digital back to analog. So when you come right off the console into a power amp into a wedge, there's very little that changes. But when you have to convert it to one of these systems that feeds audio over a Cat5 cable,
Mm-hmm.
it can change the sound. I was my own church when I was up in Indiana. I experienced that dealing with wireless in-ears versus going through our personal monitoring systems. That when we went wireless directly off of our console, it was a much better sound.
Okay.
It certainly can make sense, but at the end of the day, as long as you can hear yourself, that's the most important thing.
Right. Right. Now,
Well, let me chime in on that on the
yeah,
musician end.
go ahead.
The one thing I have to say is, as long as you can hear yourself, that's all that matters. There could be an argument against that, just in the fact of we as artists, and as hard as it is to believe, are inspired by what we play.
True.
Right.
If your mix is bad and what you're hearing is bad, then guess what? You're not going to play up to the standard in which you are capable of playing.
Right.
And my experience has been, and DJ and I have talked about this before, is with the Avion systems, man, like I haven't heard one of those that has sounded good ran off of some of the best consoles that are out there on the market today.
Right.
Because the preamps that are in those just are not, they're not warm, it's very sterile, very stale. But I will say this, the MyMix that we are using currently is the best sounding unit that I have heard to date. One of my buddies put it best in the fact that a good way to talk about personal monitoring systems, what you're looking for is when we go in the studio, what we're looking for, mostly the cleanest sound that you could ever have when you're in the studio.
Definitely.
Well, live, you're wanting that to translate as well. So the MyMix translates that. I feel like I'm in a vocal booth singing when I have the MyMix and my in-ears in.
Mm.
So yes, I think it does matter. And like the good thing is the dialogue is I think if musicians and sound men kind of getting on the same page, and the fact of like we as musicians need to be more sensitive to sound men and the fact that they work their tails off doing what they do, because without them we're nothing. And then at the same time, I think it's great for sound men to go, oh, so it actually does, what you're hearing in your ears and what you're hearing in your monitors actually affects the way that you play.
Right.
Hey guys, this is Greg. If I can chime in on that, man, because I completely understand. I'm sorry, what's your name that's speaking? It's Neil.
Neil, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, Neil. Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from your musician standpoint. I've been a monitor engineer for years, and I think a lot of what engineers miss and musicians, miss together in that whole communication thing is that there's so many different components. It can be first, the actual personal mixer. It can be second, the source of headphones or in-ears. Some guys use, Sony, Samsung, anything, Sennheiser. Some guys use Sonic custom in-ears. It's going to vary for a lot of different people, and I do understand when it comes to the Avion monitor system that a lot of guys have complained about, the amount of volume, the amount of even the clarity coming, because you come directly from the board. Like he said, it doesn't matter what board you're coming from. It's not the board. It's the actual device. It's the actual personal mixer. What I would definitely suggest on that end is to get yourself or I would in the past is I've gotten a small mixer, a 2-channel mixer or a 3-channel mixer, just to boost up whatever that they're trying to hear. And it's not because musicians want to hear things loud, but they want to be able to hear things. I've come to learn that musicians, well, not just musicians, but the talent that's on stage, they need to hear things a certain way so that they would be able to perform to the best of their caliber. You understand what I'm saying? And I truly understand what this guy is saying, and that's something that a lot of people don't understand as engineers, sound engineers, and even as musicians. That from a musician standpoint, the musician needs to understand what the engineer has to do. And then
Oh, yeah.
likewise as an engineer. The engineer, that's very important, man. Especially as a monitor engineer, it's very important for you to understand what a musician needs. Because if you just think that he needs sound and he just needs to hear himself, you're missing it. I'm sorry, but you're missing it. It's a whole lot more than just him hearing him on piano or him playing it on drums.
Well,
There's a
at
whole lot
the end
more.
of the day, we're all on the same team.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Yes, I love that.